What if researchers decided to conduct a study to determine the optimal workout split for fat loss? Not the finest supplements, not the best diet, but the real split, such as the body sections you work out. They succeeded, and we now know the solution, which is really fantastic. The interesting thing is that this study looked at more than simply the highest fat-burning exercises. It also examined what burns the most fat after an exercise. We are discussing the reduction of standard belly fat, reducing visceral fat, and placing ourselves in a position where we are actually burning more fat all day. You've undoubtedly been in a position where, despite your best efforts to train, nothing seems to be improving. As a matter of fact, there are even things that may go wrong. We'll talk about them, and cause your training to actually put you in a stressful situation where it's easier for you to gain weight. Additionally, I will provide some nutrition-related content at the conclusion of this video. I'll discuss some overnight strategies that enable us to metabolize more fat the following day and are supported by credible science at Florida State University. It all comes down to pulling levers now that affect us both now and in the future. You know, the question kind of changes once consistency is established, such as when you're already lifting on a regular basis, turning up most days, and consuming your protein. It goes beyond simply going to the gym. At that point, the structure of your workouts becomes more important than simply showing up. At least more than most people realize, though perhaps never more than simply showing up. Because things start to get really fascinating at this point. Recently, researchers compared two of the most well-known, tried-and-true workout splits used by regular lifters to determine which one resulted in greater fat loss. Despite having the same weekly volume, exercise frequency, and effort, the outcomes are drastically different. To be honest, the majority of lifters would confidently choose the incorrect one. So this is what we will do. Since the specifics are what give the results significance, I'll take you through the setup of the study. The investigation becomes somewhat interesting as a result. Next, we'll explain why, despite the fact that the overall amount of labor was the same, one split resulted in significantly higher fat loss. After that, we'll discuss why, even when exercising feels incredibly effective, discomfort and exhaustion actually work against you for fat reduction. After that, I'll demonstrate how to use this without completely altering your daily schedule. However, I will then discuss things you can do at night, such as eating. Therefore, you must comprehend who this study was conducted on and what they were controlling for in order to grasp why the results are significant. We would like to express our gratitude to Element Electrolytes for making this content possible before delving into the study's contents. As a result, I've included a link below that allows you to receive a variety pack with any purchase you make from them. This implies that you receive a variety pack of their stick pack tastes, which you may either present to a friend or keep for yourself. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. Additionally, some cans that contain half as much are currently being released. Join our diabetes health community and take control of your health with confidence. By hitting subscribe and like, you'll receive daily, easy-to-follow health solutions focused on blood sugar control, healthy habits, and long-term wellness. Stay informed, stay empowered, and move toward a healthier, more balanced life, one smart step at a time. Therefore, if you want a small electrolyte boost without going overboard, you can really take a 500 milligrams sodium in a ready-to-drink can. Thus, they have some truly amazing things in the works. So take a look at them. This was a randomized control study, or RCT, and it was published in the European College of Sports Sciences official publication. New lifters weren't used for it. Alright, so these individuals had a few years of experience with basic resistance exercise and were decently trained. Therefore, abstained from drinking, smoking, and steroids. In general, they were in good health. But it still matters, due to the fact that they were effectively divided into two groups. These are also quite typical lifting groupings. One group used a full-body resistance training regimen, whereas the other used a split-body regimen. Thus, each group worked out 5 days a week. Alright, they both lifted between 8 and 12 repetitions, 70 to 80% of their 1-rep maximum then. Alright, so they were exhausting at the range of 8 to 12 repetitions. Therefore, a post-workout whey protein shake was included in the standardized protein intake. As a result, everyone consumed about the same quantity of protein. However, this is the crucial information. The volume of training each week was equal. They gave them the same amount of training, the same frequency, intensity, and total number of sets. The distribution of the effort was the only distinction. In each session, the entire body group worked all of the major muscle groups. All right? During each session, the split body group concentrated on a few muscles. Now that we understand the fundamentals of its construction, let's discuss what transpired. There was no denying the outcomes. The entire body group dropped a lot more fat, not just in one area but in others. Whole body fat was lost. They lost gynoid fat, lower limb fat, and upper limb fat. There was even a strong trend toward a considerable reduction in abdominal fat. Thus, real loss of belly fat. The split body group, on the other hand, did not significantly improve. Indeed, fat mass increased in some areas. Thus, the same frequency and volume produce very diverse results. So why is the obvious question? For example, where is the physiology in this situation? Similar to what really took place. Here, the researchers identified two primary causes. Systemic energy demand is the first, though there may be others. Your overall glucose uptake increases when you work out more muscle groups in a single session. Your glycogen turnover and total energy expenditure will therefore increase as a result. You're actually burning more. This actually means that after an exercise, your body continues to burn fat for a longer period of time. Thus, this is a straightforward way of thinking about things. It's similar to running one appliance at maximum power when you train a single muscle group. It's like turning on the entire house when you train multiple muscle groups. Isn't that right? Thus, the time is the same, but the energy pull is substantially different. However, the distribution of weariness is the second explanation. As a result, the split body group had faster local fatigue and substrate depletion because more sets were applied to fewer muscles in a single session. As a result, they accumulated more metabolic byproducts, and that severely restricts the amount of high-quality work you can actually maintain. Additionally, I recall seeing Joe Rogan discuss this topic on a long-ago episode with Farasa Hobby. However, this is also the point at which the majority of individuals are deceived, particularly about pain. Delayed onset muscle soreness was examined in the study, and overall soreness was consistently lower for the entire body group. Even more intriguingly, there was a correlation between increased fat reduction and less discomfort. Soreness isn't an indicator of fat loss, but it's also not a bad thing. One may argue that it's also not a growth indication. Excessive soreness does not reflect the metabolic load of the entire body, but rather localized muscle injury and likely elevated creatine kinase levels. Therefore, if soreness persists at a high level, fat loss responds better to these regular, repeating energy demands that sometimes result in some muscle breakdown, recovery slows down significantly, training quality declines, and weekly output diminishes, even if you are unaware of it. Therefore, you begin to see things from a physiological perspective as you zoom out from the pain. This is where nutrition can be quite important, isn't it? Because food and metabolism are closely related. By timing our nutrition, we can maximize the benefits of this training, right? In a few minutes, I will once more discuss various tactics related to that, primarily those that are used at night to help with fat oxidation the following day. Correct? From a metabolic standpoint, we must keep in mind that muscle is one of the body's biggest, if not the biggest, glucose sinks. Correct? Your body grows more adept at removing glucose from the bloodstream the more muscle you have and the more muscle you use. It's not theory. This is real stuff. Additionally, resistance training was found to enhance glycemic control more successfully than aerobic exercise in individuals with type 2 diabetes who were of normal weight. Thus, lean mass was also increased. This indicates that resistance exercise enhances your body's ability to use fuel in addition to helping you gain muscle. Therefore, that effect becomes rather systemic when more muscle is used more frequently, as is the case with whole body training. However, it doesn't end with losing weight. The brain is also impacted by resistance exercise. Resistance training enhanced processing speeds and executive function, mostly in older persons, according to a study published in the Journal of Nutrition, Health, and Aging. We are aware that you are not merely turning into a metaphorical meathead. I take it that you're turning into a meathead? Resistance training increases the proteins involved in synaptic plasticity, especially in the brain's memory. regions, according to animal studies published in the Journal of Applied Physiology. That's what we have. That basically means that this full-body training is systemic rather than localized. Therefore, the advantages go beyond the muscle. Therefore, we have a greater possibility of achieving these systemic advantages rather than merely localized devastation when we work out the entire body. I want to briefly connect the dots and provide a brief summary before we get into what to do with this. It wasn't a study for beginners. Effort and volume were equal. Higher sustainable production, less discomfort, and more fat loss were the results of full-body training. It improved recuperation and increased the workload on the entire body. Its metabolic signaling was more reliable. This helps to explain why so many individuals feel stuck, since it's possible that you're not receiving the metabolic load because you're just hammering a body area. Let's now discuss how to use it. Full body or higher frequency exposure is more effective if fat loss is the first priority. I mean, even an upper-lower split? It does not imply that a split routine that focuses solely on chest training is unhealthy. It just indicates that context is crucial. So, quit hammering a muscle and using stiffness and discomfort as feedback. Alright? Soreness may indicate that a muscle was under stress, but it does not indicate that fat loss was encouraged. The most crucial thing is to strive for sessions that you can bounce back from and repeat regularly. We don't think locally, we think systemically. These days it's all about signals and systems rather than just individual, narrow-minded viewpoints. Fat loss actually reacts to a whole metabolic demand rather than the state of your chest. Isn't that right? You may train the entire system by training both patterns and movements. I told you that you may conduct a type of dietary trick at night. During a recent interview, a doctor from FSU amazed me with a study in which he said, "Hey, when we gave subjects cottage cheese before bed, a casein protein with very low fat and pretty much no carbs. In fact, we observed that their levels of fat oxidation increased the next day. They actually burned more fat in the morning the next day, which really irritated me because I'm a big fan of fasting. The longer you can work out while fasting, in my opinion, the better." He had two theories about it. One resembled the theory of stress. Perhaps consuming a few calories before bed actually reduced stress and put the body in a better position to be slightly parasympathetic, which would have improved your ability to manage the workout. That's one thing. What mattered most, though, was the metabolic shift. In fact, it increased the metabolism just enough over the night to cause a modest increase in the morning. However, I do not advise doing that each night. The key is that there are either extremely little or no lipids and no carbohydrates. Just pure protein then. Thus, it doesn't appear to affect sleep. In fact, it might even make it better. However, that has a lot of drawbacks. On the other hand, nocturnal fat oxidation, the rate at which your body consumes fat during the night, is one of the best predictors of your future level of leanness. In fact, we have measured this in laboratories. This is crucial. Overnight, we do burn fat, but not to this extent. We just burn a significant amount of fat at night. In fact, because we are in that state of beta oxidation, we often burn more fat at night than during the day. Apple cider vinegar before bed is one approach to better induce that state. Apple cider vinegar's acetic acid really enters the mitochondria and produces acetate, causes the body to enter this AMPK state, which makes it believe that we are fasting more deeply. Thus, 2 or 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar combined with a small amount of water and glycine will help you feel somewhat calmer a few hours or even an hour before bed. It can induce a deeper AMPK state and improve your quality of sleep. Thus, overnight, your rate of fat oxidation actually increases. You actually burn fat overnight, but it's more like you're setting off the signal than losing fat. You can therefore work both metabolic systems if you do it, for example, 4 evenings a week and then 3 nights a week on your heavier lifting and training days, or if you do the cottage cheese at night. The best of both worlds is yours. I created a video that explains how to maximize fat burning in a single workout if you want to go one step further. How to make it even more beneficial than a split or full body program. I'll see you in the upcoming video as always. Until then, farewell. I'll see you in the upcoming video.